Okay, good evening and welcome to Iyun with Benzion. We're learning Yevamos Daf Nandala number 54. We have an interesting Gemara talks about together the way of describing an onus by Yibum. Yibum, as opposed to Kiddushin and Nisuim, can happen even if it's forced. Even so, we know that if it's the Mishnah says whether the woman is forced, right? So then it's still considered a yibum. But it discusses also if the man is forced to do it. He's an onus. So what is the case that a man is an onus that he's forced to do it? Um, so the Gemara goes through a couple different possibilities. And the Gemara brings one case. The Gemara says maybe it's talking about while he's sleeping. He's sleeping, he's together with the Yavama. And then he's together with her while he's sleeping. And it's not his fault. He didn't really intend to do it. Is he kohen or he's not kohen? So the Gemara says that the Namora already ruled about this. I'm a rabba, the second line in Dal Nalef. Nafal min agag v'niska chayav arba dvarim v'nivim to lo kanev. He falls off. He's engaging, and the Gemara explains, he's engaging in relations with his wife on top of the roof, and then he falls off. Um, I'm sorry. Let's go back for a second. Sleeping. The Gemara says, the Gemara says first on the bottom, I'm going to review the top, the first line on the Dal, and I'll have Yoshel no Kanap Yivimto. You're not Konap by sleeping in the middle of sleep. Then it over to a different case. Let's say you fall off a roof, right? Nitka, you fall off a roof. You're engaging with relations with your wife, and then you fall off the roof, and your Voma happens to be below, on the grass below. It wasn't so high. You didn't obviously die, or you didn't squash her. And you directly went inside of her, and you're think you're going to be Kona. The Gemara says you're not Kona in that case. So what's the case? The Gemara says you're not Kona. What's the case that you are Kona? I was going to this guy on the Isho with Takfaso Yevamto Bala. So the Gemara is Maskana is talking about a case where you're having your relations with your wife. Because you're not in a relation with your wife, someone forces you to have relations with a woman in general. You're a Vama. There's no wife, your wife in the beginning. So then the Gemara says, "En kisha el das," right? That even if he puts a gun to your head, you do it willingly. It's not called an onus. Onus has to be that you're engaged, you wanted to do it with your wife, so the erection was on your part. You wanted to do it, but the onus was that you did it with the wrong lady. It was forced upon you. So the case is that she forced you. The Yavam went and took you. You were being together with your wife. She took you, and you were together with her, and that's called onus. He is forced by the Yavama. She forced him. He would still be Kona her in that case. That's considered to be a Maisabia. It's considered a Maisabia. So the article brings over here, in footnote number 6 over here, it says there are those who question why Yibum is valid here, but not in the case of one who fell off a roof. The Gemara says definitively, if he falls off a roof, right, he falls into the Yavama, he's not Kona. After all, in this case too, his intent to cohabit with his wife was not consummated, and a new act began in which we have no reason to assume he meant to cohabit at all. Meaning, what's the reason that he falls off a roof? He's not Kona, right? There also, he was engaging in relation with his wife on the roof, on top of the roof. So he fall off the roof. He was in the middle of the bia. So it must be the explanation is when you fall off the roof that the Maisa bia is stopped once you fall off because you're not with your wife anymore. You're in the process of falling off a roof. So the fact that you landed in the Yavama, no Maisa bia, the Maisa bia was halted, and there's no more Maisa bia anymore, so you can't be Kona. The Gemara later on says you have to have a Maisa bia. Therefore, if you intended to build an animal and you did with the Yavama, that would be good. You intended to let out Zera against a wall, and then you ended up with your Yavama, that wouldn't be good because you didn't intend to do a Maisa Bia. So, what is the distinction over here? By the case where the Gemara accepts, it is a good case of onus where he would be Kona, where the Yavama forces him to be it, because there also he had intended to do a Maisa Bia with his wife, but then once the Yavama grabs him and takes him and then forces him to be with her, so then that's certainly halts the Maisa Bia. He doesn't want to do that Maisa Bia anymore. She forced it upon him. He has to have intention for Maisa Bia. So what's the explanation over here? So, it says see Ritvan Karen Ora. I didn't see the Ritvar the Karen Ora, but I'll offer maybe my own answer to this question. Meaning, what makes something a Maisa Bia? What gives it the parameters of being an act of intercourse of Bia? Obviously, when he falls off the roof, So he loses. I mean, when you're falling off the roof, you're pretty scared. You lose your desire to be together with anyone. You're trying to save your life. You don't want to die. I mean, it's scary to fall off a roof. So it's very understandable that the Maisa B has halted in that case. When another woman takes you and is together with you, even if you don't want to be with this other woman because you don't want to be kona her and you don't want to have a child for your brother, or you're angry at your brother, or you don't like his wife, she's ugly, or whatever the reason being, um, you still have a desire for a bia because you're in the middle of a bia. That's really what you're doing over here. Kavana for a bia is um, a maisa bia is dependent on your desire for a bia, desire for relations over here, and therefore, when you're falling off a roof, you don't have a desire anymore for relations. But even when you get switched from one woman to another woman, your desire for relations doesn't necessarily stop, even if in the first place you wouldn't have relations with her. But once you're in the middle of having relations, um, I mean, that's the difference. We discussed the difference between bia and a bi'ila. What's the difference? Sometimes the Gemara calls it a bia, and sometimes it calls it a bi'ila. Bi'ila is a lashon baal, a lashon of husband, and a bia is a lashon of ba. Ba is to come to. It's the difference is that there's two types of intercourse. There's one type of intercourse where we're talking about where the man um, he's doing it for himself because he wants to engage in intercourse. He wants to engage in intercourse for himself, not because he wants it to be part of a marriage. He wants it to be part of a thing together, being both of them enjoying it together, being together with a woman. He's doing it for himself. He wants to do a bia. He needs a woman over there because he's not going to enjoy it otherwise. He wants a woman over there. That's a ma'isa bia. A bi'ila is something which is he wants to do it. It's more drawn out. It's done in a way where, in a more loving way, where you want both people to enjoy it in the same way. So it doesn't make a difference over here. You're right. He doesn't want this Yevama, this woman, and he wouldn't want to marry this woman. But as long as he started with a ma'isa bia with his wife and it doesn't end, he's with the other with another woman. Since he wants to do it for himself, he's doing the bia. It's not a bi'ila. It's bia. It's bia, that's kona yivam, so he wants to do it for himself. So therefore, even if it's another woman over there, he's still going to finish with the other woman, even though it's not a woman he want to be married to, but it would be a bia because he's doing it for himself, not for the relationship, not for both of them being together. That would be the explanation over here. Hope you enjoyed tonight's share.